Hey everyone, I didn't forget to put out my mute button. I'm very proud of it. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. I'm very very happy to have David with me once again for the third time. So welcome, David, once again. Happy to have you
Thanks,
back.
Fred. It's great to be back again for a third time, and I really appreciate you having me back here on your show.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's the last presentation for the people who haven't see it. I suggest you after this one, when you have the time, go see it. What was the name again? I couldn't remember, but
Magical thinking versus true manifestation. Yep.
it was amazing presentation with slides and everything. So I suggest you to go there and go see. And the Libercast is on YouTube, Odyssey, Facebook. The group is there. Um, and BitChute. I'm working on it. There, I try to be as eclectic as I need to keep the information, and that's why I send everyone. I was, if I can do a suggestion, is go directly on the Odyssey page or library, because all the stuff is downloadable. It's accessible. Everybody can listen to it. It's not censored. There's no censorship there. So I encourage everyone to go see there. So before we start, um, I want to take a time to bring the subject of rebirth and transmutation, because we came into another and a new year. We passed the solar cycle, and I mean, this is a time to for introspection and what we want to do with our lives and how we do it. And I think what we need is healing the divisions, healing the divides. This is the main goal, I think, for the betterment of humanity. Sure, there's the individual work, the shadow work, and the introspection that we need to do. Everybody must do it. There's no easy way to do it. You want to bring change to this world, you better fucking change yourself first, you know, and get rid of those bad habits. And David covered some uh on this the last presentation, the last show we did together. So I mean, just go there and you'll see it by yourself. Just for the people who don't know you, David, don't know your work, can you tell us about it quickly, and then show us maybe where we can find your work?
Sure thing, Fred. And once again, I really appreciate the chance to be back here. You're doing some great work. I know people are These are new watchers and listeners and people who have been following your work for some time. So just really high praise for what you're doing. And
Thank you.
it's a pleasure to participate. So like you, I am doing the great work. Each of us who does the great work, we do it in our own unique way. That's the beauty of being individuals, but also being connected back to the truth and serving the truth. Is we're all looking to, we have similar goals and we're all guided by those similar principles, but each person's doing their thing. So my personal take on the great work, I call it freedomvibe.art. That's also my website. It's also the concept. So I focus on very much on the concepts of freedom and what it takes for us to be free, and also on art. Art is for me very important. And as I was mentioning to you in the pre-show, I've kind of taken a break from people. You can go check out my work. Most of the work that I've done is a little different than you. I do more short, we'll call them shorter format videos. They tend to be stand-up videos that I record in one take, usually outside. Usually I'm sharing a concept or a constellation of concepts and just kind of riffing. Sometimes I have notes if it's a more complex topic, but usually I'm just going with what I already know and understand and just sharing it. So it's a different format, and I try to bring, an artistic touch to my work. And I've really enjoyed it. I have been taking a break in January. You mentioned the solar cycle and the new cycle. It's very apropos, I think, because I decided to take a step back from doing those videos, which I had really just been laying on it heavy for all of 2022, as was appropriate. And now I've kind of taken a step back, and I'll probably continue to do videos like that, but I have a couple of new projects that I haven't even announced publicly yet. And one of them is very artistic. I'm very looking forward to sharing that probably sometime in January. The other I'll just mention, like you do a lot of content towards the French audience, I'm actually thinking of, I'm actually planning to do some content for the Spanish speaking audience, because I speak fluent Spanish, even though it's not my mother language. Just the recognition to be able to connect with more people. So yeah, so if people want to check out my work, it's freedomvibe.art. And also I'm on the One Great Work Network, just like you are, Fred. It's great to have you on that platform as well. That's a way to see my work along with all the other, I think it's more than 50 content creators now, but it's a growing community. It's very powerful.
Give me 2. Here we go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Everything is fine.
We just got to roll with the punches, roll with the technical challenges as they come up.
Yeah. So the title is David shows was voluntary organization versus government. And can you just tell us the meaning of the title, please? The difference between the two.
Yeah. So the reason I got inspired to this topic is I'm gonna assume that I want to be careful not to assume too much, but I'm gonna assume generally that people who are watching this podcast, for example, already know that there's something deeply wrong with believing in authority, and that external authority is really a root cause of a lot of the suffering. When we delegate, when we attempt to externalize authority to those who would use violence against us, this is kind of a root cause of why we suffer and why we're enslaved. So I think people get that to a large extent. I think the other side of that is that we're not pushing ourselves enough to open up to the possibility of what is actually the alternative that we're seeking. What is the alternative to coercive violence and coercive control, external control, that many people, maybe we could say most people, think is necessary in order for a society to function? That is not true. But if we don't dive in and understand what is actually true about that, and what is the higher level consciousness that allows us to create together, then we're just kind of stuck in the loop of blaming the suffering and kind of not moving past that. I'm, part of the reason why I'm doing this is I want us to live in a world. I want to be a part of a world, a creation that we create together that is based on principles, that is based on voluntarism. And so the inspiration for this talk today is for us to explore deeper what is that actual alternative of existence to government, and what would that actually look like, and start to explore that and start to open our imagination, even though it can be a bit scary and we're not going to have all the answers. And the whole point is, when it's based on voluntarism, we can't know exactly what it's going to be, because we're not trying to coerce others to act a certain way. That's not the point. Exactly. So we really can't know exactly what we're going to manifest, but we can know what the principles are, and then we can start to understand why not only can we function as a civilization, as a species, through voluntarism, but start to peel back the layers to see just how incredible reality can become when we do that. But we need to figure out what the sticky points are, and we need to understand the key difference between living under coercion, which arguably humanity we've always lived under coercion. Certainly you and I and everybody alive today who's watching this, we've never not lived under the violence of government, even if it was sometimes more distant from us. Sometimes it was more in our face. It depends on the scenario. Sometimes we were more aware of it. Sometimes we were less aware of it. Sometimes we acted out in a small way in our lives the same kind of behavior by trying to act like an authority, being a bully, being bullied, which is kind of a small version of authority, a local version, and so on and so forth. So we've kind of, we've lived that so much that it's become, just by nature of being inundated, that it's become hard to even grasp what it means to live voluntarily. But this is so important, because this is our natural state. This is the ideal state of human beings, and one of the reasons why that is so is because we have free will and we have discernment. So we have free will, we have discernment, which includes self-reflection. So we can reflect on ourselves, we can discern the world around us, we can come to know about the objective truths, both the inner truth and the outer truth. So we have this ability to figure this out, but we have free will. So the point is to be able to learn to exercise that free will and to explore that and be okay with not even knowing how it's all going to unfold, that uncertainty. So I know I'm throwing out a lot of things, but this is I wanted to share on the front end the inspiration. So just to define the terms very precisely, government is a very advanced and weaponized mind control technology that has been developed over tens of thousands of years. And what it does, the word government literally means mind control, because it comes from the Latin gubernare plus mente. So it means to control or govern the mind. And that is not an accident. So it's a very advanced weaponized psychologically principally control, which instills belief systems that people somehow need violent and coercive external authorities to run their lives, because people don't have, either because human nature, we can't take care of ourselves, who will build the roads, and so on and so forth. We need people to tell us what to do. There's many different excuses for it, but this is what government is. It's all based on violence. It's therefore immoral right on the front end. So it's immoral because it's already violating the principles of creation. And therefore, when we buy into that, we're going to suffer, and we're going to create, out of alignment with principles, which means, the suffering will just continue. We're going to suffer and will cause suffering to others. So that's what government is on the one hand. And government required, because we have free will, the technology, the reason why it had to be so sophisticated is we do have free will. You can't erase the fact that humanity has free will. But so government, what it does is it jumps through a lot of hoops. Authority in general, I'll just call it authority, because I think that's a broader definition that includes both government, but also religions and other advanced mind control techniques. All the institutions of the world. So authority in general needs our consent, because we are beings with free will and the capacity for holistic intelligence. So it needs to co-opt that. So basically, everything is based on manufactured consent, where we're from birth, we're programmed a certain way, and then you agree, you sign all these documents, you sign your life away, birth certificate, social security number, and it just goes on and on and on and on. Children usually take on the religion of their parents, so it's all propagated. So free will is still a part of the equation. It's just it's being co-opted. And there are deeper reasons why that is that we can definitely talk about if we have time. But basically, authority wants to control everyone, and therefore it needs to convince us that this is the way things are. This is the optimal state. This is the best we can hope for. You're just you're just a human being. You're flawed. You can't make good decisions on your own. So you need authority to tell you what to do. I mean, this is somewhat of an oversimplification, but that's essentially government and authority on the one side. Voluntary organization is the recognition that because we are beings, because we have free will, because we have the capacity for holistic intelligence and to come to know the objective truth, come to understand morality, objective morality, natural principles, the way reality works, both the inner world and the world, because we have that capacity and because we have free will, we have already within us, the universe is already set up in a way that we can create optimally. We can co-create the best through the best. All that requires is us to activate and bring online these different aspects of our consciousness. So we need to recognize that we have free will and always attempt to make the best choices at every moment, right, to the best of our ability. No one's perfect. I'm not saying people are perfect. We're obviously going to make mistakes, but we strive to do the best we can. We strive to understand things. We have that. We leverage our holistic intelligence to try to understand. We don't believe things so much as we learn them and understand them. So we're always open to new things, and therefore, because we are living together, I mean, this is the nature of human beings. We are a society. We live together. It's not just one human being. We are sharing this reality together. In order to create greater things, which is part of the joy of life, we need cooperation. So voluntary cooperation simply means that we solve the challenges of living together instead of being coerced under violence to solve these problems, the quote unquote, who will build the roads. Now we're actually putting on our own individual thinking. We're expressing ourselves uniquely. Some people are better at certain things than other things. Each of us is contributing the best of our abilities, the things that we're most interested in and that we therefore excel in. And each one, and we're doing that because of the love of doing it, the desire to grow and to live in a better world, desire to contribute and to experience all the things that can have. And because we get to decide, we have the freedom to decide, and each person can decide. A person can even decide to be a bad person. It's just that when you live in a society where the majority of people are respecting the principles of creation, then you're going to suffer a lot as a person who decides to be a bad person, because the creation will simply manifest the lessons that it will beat back against you. As hard as you push, it will push back. So, but we can't take away that choice. So, but people will naturally, I think, once they understand the truth of things, people are going to start to naturally gravitate towards voluntarism, and then we're going to see just how incredible a reality that we can create together.
There's some point that you touched that are like that's on the 100%. You described it pretty much. This is very simple. This is common sense. Okay,
Yep.
so if the mental health of the aggregate has a profound effect on the well-being and the happiness and the accomplishment that the people do, the cause and effect. So we have the problem. You'll tell me if you don't agree with me, but I think the problem resides into psychology, and because you mentioned intergenerational mind control means that the culture will be imposed to you by your parents and your family and your relative and your friends. and your society. And then you will, with the time when you're young, d- uh, uh, um, you're gonna grow a persona for the external aspect of a relationship, and in your relation with the society, and the relation you have with the others. But the thing is, I think you mentioned it, it's because we are living into an internal chaos. We don't have, people don't have the tools to take the grip on reality. they this these people who are constructing the society and cultures, this is what they want to take away from you: your free will, your
Yep.
ability, your responsibility. Because people, pretty much, you mentioned it, in the government, they're taking your responsibility gladly for you.
Yep.
And this is one of the point that I want to point out. And I mean, one of the first thing we should do, it's stop to fucking point out for a scapegoat, and and stop pointing the finger, and pointing this finger against ourselves. What is the behavior that I have with myself and the others? What it is my responsibility to society? Because if we still want to have a society, we need cooperation, we need common sense, we need
Yep.
conscious living, conscious eating. We need to put everything at the same level of vibration. Mostly, it's the easy way to say it, but it's principles. Thank you. Principles. Absolutely. Faith, like religious faith, it doesn't mean that at all.
Nope.
Faith are principles. And just for the people who listen to that, just think about this. So there's plenty. I don't know if they still exist, but there were plenty of blueprint for alternative uh, um, uh, society transitions, money, no money transitions, and then you have voluntarism. And I want to point out that there was one, I should have take the picture of the book. It's called Ubuntu Contributionism. For the people who don't know it, this guy Michael Tellinger came up with this blueprint for a transition to a money world, to a no money world. And it's very good. The soul behind this, the spirit behind this, is good. There's some flaws, but nothing is perfect. Okay, so I'm suggesting to all of you who don't know it, it's called Ubuntu Contributionism by Michael Tellinger. It's a Canadian. Now he's in Africa. He tried to start his own, his first thing. And you have like RB, and you have all these other alternative that people start to get with other people, get together, and then talk, and then like try to reconciliate things and build relation, durable, like tough, true relation with people, not this pretentious, like this pretentious neighboring things. You do it because you will look like, you look good, to your other neighbors. We need to fucking treat our brothers and sisters as such. So this is one of the point I wanted to bring. And
Absolutely.
um do you think a the the better scenario that we could have, would it be a pseudo communism or anarcho contributionism or voluntarism? What is your idea of the utopian future, the good scenario, the good hand?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of points there. I mean, it's wow, so fantastic points that you brought up as well, Fred. It's hard to. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Um, I've talked about this with other people. It's not any kind of socialism because again, socialism is a form of authoritarian control, where the is control over the distribution of property. So there will be nothing that's based on violence or coercion. If we had a society where 100% of humanity all agreed to distribute our property voluntarily under no coercion, no one was forced to do anything they actually didn't want to do, and people were presented with the truth, the true understanding of what they were getting into, even maybe within a small society. Sure, I mean, could people come up with a shared property-based society because they do it voluntarily, even on a small scale? Absolutely. The point is that it may not be one thing for all of humanity. There may be different types, different models of civilization, depending on the desire and motive of each individual. Because again, I'm going to harp on this point because I think the core point that is stopping us from moving forward is the lack of understanding of the core difference between authority, externalized authority, and internal authority. And that's why I love the fact that you always harp on the shadow work, Fred, because that is the biggest sticking point, in my opinion, because I've seen that how it's played out in my own life. For example, the biggest thing that is stopping you who's watching this from actually understanding and fully grasping what it's going to take, or even what the next step is to move towards a voluntary society, is you still, some part of you is still holding on to the notion that there needs to be some external authority. And people aren't going to like to hear that, but I'm just going to say it right to your face. You still believe that authority needs to exist. You still believe that it has a place. And that's because some part of you is not fully owning up to your own responsibility in your own life. And therefore, the universe, being the perfect mechanism that it is you're going to seek out outside of yourself that which you don't believe that you have within yourself. Until and unless you start to get into the point where you recognize that your natural state is to be the full master, the full monarch internally of your own mind, and to fully control your mind, take full responsibility for it, including you may not be able to control every thought that comes to your mind. You're not going to be able to control all of your emotions. I'm sorry, that's not under our control. But what we can do is control how we respond to and what we choose to focus on and put our attention on. So you will need to start to become the master of it. And frankly, I think someone who truly loves themselves to a deeper level and loves truth and serves the truth and serves principles, number one, they're not going to compromise on this. They're going to know that this is our natural state, and they're going to have more of a fuck off, fuck you attitude towards any kind of authority, because why would they externalize their power? They already know that they have the power. So this is the state that we need to get to. We need more people to really have the courage to master themselves internally, take care of all your shit, like you were saying before, Fred. Deprogramming yourself. I know you've talked about this in many podcasts, not just today, but get in there, clean up the muck, deprogram yourself from all that mind control programming. This is not an exercise in figuring out how they were able to do it. The point is they were able to do it. And all of us have been mind controlled and programmed heavily, some more than others, some more successfully than others, but we're all in it. We're all living in this world. So get in there, clean it up, take responsibility. I've had to take responsibility. I've had to just look at myself in the mirror and realize all the fucked up things that I've done, that I was basically a bad person. I was not, I was not, I was a bad person. I was not necessarily the worst person in the world, but I was also not a good person. And that's the point. But the point is I was able to figure this out, and I was able to see the connection between the way I was being inside and how I was helping to continue and expand the manifestation of external power. So you're not, I would say this is like, I know we harp on this so many times, Fred, but people who are not doing the shadow work, people who are not, looking inside, who are not taking full responsibility, they're the ones probably more than anyone else that is just keeping the lights on for authority, keeping authority going, because authority is there just perfectly to serve people who are not willing to take responsibility for themselves.
I mean, it's chaos under pretense of order.
Yeah.
Because they are offering you a basic model. Is it right side or left side? Left brain oriented. It's order and um, systems. There's no place for holistic thoughts here. It's a very rigid mechanic system, and it's filtrating the people. And if you think too much, they're gonna put you aside. Okay, so in what
Can
I
I just
want to
make a
bring,
point about the left brain
yeah,
and right brain thing real quick?
yeah,
So this is really interesting. And actually, Mark Passio talked about this way early on in like the first 10
yeah,
podcasts. And I remember this because I think this is a great exercise to remember this. But, he pointed out something very interesting that I didn't catch the first time. I didn't catch this until recently. But the reason why people who are in their right brain, which is the more intuitive, we could call it the feminine
yeah,
side, more imaginative, less structured, not really about language. Or the reason why those people make good slaves to authority is because their mind is so out of balance and lacking that natural control that a holistic mind would have from the left brain, from the logic and the structure. They are seeking it because everything in nature seeks a balance. So they need it. Because they're not getting it within their own mind, they start to seek it outside. That's why they start to look at the world like, God makes everything happen. There is no free will. We need government. We need authority. So they actually ironically make better subjects and slaves to authority than, say, someone who's predominantly left-brained. Although that doesn't mean that's 100%. But that's just one of the reasons why there's so much focus on also accentuating the right brain, but also the left brain, because then the left brain, the opposite thing happens. The person wants to be so in control that they start to believe that the world around them is just random, and there is no structure to it. There's no principles. There's no divine.
there's no morality.
Yeah. So
We can do
both sides
whatever
play
we want.
against each other. Yeah. I mean, the imbalances, authority needs both those imbalances. But the point is, they're fucking with your mind, and they're going to push you on one side or the other. And that a lot of the programming and mind control is designed to push someone, is to get your mind out of balance. That's the bottom line. And that's one of the major ways that they do it. And they start doing it from a very early age. Ideally between the ages of 0 and 5 is when they really start, because that's when the person is most impressionable. But then all through, even as the person is, before they reach puberty, those are still formative years, and there's still authority has great opportunities through culture, through education, to just keep hammering it. And that's why it's going to take no less than you looking inside yourself and taking back your power and taking back your mind and taking responsibility for your mind and all of your actions, every single, large and small. Nothing gets brushed under the carpet. Nothing can get excused. If you whatever small or large errors you commit, whatever mistakes you make, whatever happens, taking full responsibility for it. And honestly, if people are afraid to die, for example, it means that they don't really value truth and principles. They value their own, they're holding on to their own life more than the actual principles themselves. They lost, as one YouTuber said recently in a different context, they've lost the plot. Anybody who's so deathly afraid of dying and they're going to cling on to life, even at the expense of their morality and their principles, they've lost the plot. They completely don't get it. They completely don't get it, what the work is. And they've got everything backwards, and they're going to cling on to life, and they're going to compromise principles. And authority is right there. Like I said, authority is just going to be right there saying, Don't worry, I've got you. All you have to do is do what I say. You know, that's how they do it.
What and one aspect we can bring back is cognitive dissonance. This cognitive dissonance is everywhere. People are
Yep.
saying something and then they turn their back and they're doing the opposite. Like you, if you like freedom, if you like sovereignty, I mean sovereignty in the individual aspect, sovereignty, you're not gonna vote for master. You don't go for someone who's gonna like nurture for you this fake ass nurturing shit. You don't go back into the fucking sheep like horde, you know? You don't need validation from these assholes. You know, sorry for the language, by the way. I this subject is very it's still making me fucking angry. So I mean there's the all aspect that what I want to bring back is psychology, because we have this victimhood, this culture of victimhood, and it's everywhere now. It's in the spiritual, like mostly in the spiritual, and then you have the government, the statist, the statism. People are
Yeah.
still victims. People are treating themselves like children. You don't you It's like if you go vote because you're scared of the infrastructure are gonna fall down, you're crazy. If you go to government and ask them a permit, you ask them a permission. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy stuff. It's slavery. Government, and
Well, here's
let's say it like it is. It's straight up slavery.
Yeah, well, basically, government is you thinking that it's okay for you, not necessarily you personally, but some people believe this, but it's okay for someone to go and murder you if you don't obey their
Exactly.
random
Yes.
dictates, or if you try to expose them for being, child molesting pedophiles, which most of the elites are, and they groom people they basically groom as many people as possible into that cult of pedophilia and child torture and rape, and that's a large degree of how they raise their own children, as Jay Parker and others and Kathy O'Brien have testified, and others. I heard some great testimony today on another, not today, but this recently on another great worker, Catherine Waters, just to give her a shout out. She had a really great guest. I don't remember her name, but it was like her most recent podcast. I mean, you're basically saying this is how much you got to hate yourself. This is how much of a piece of shit you have to think about yourself, is that you're going to let these, blood drinking pedophiles run the world for you, because you can't take responsibility for yourself. You can't put your big boy pants on. You can't accept responsibility. But the truth is you can, right? We need to get to a point where we can trust each other with our lives, right? And I can tell you that if I meet someone like Fred you're someone that I would trust my life upon if I was in a situation we needed to do something, because I know that you're not someone that's compromising principles, right? This is why, another reason why voluntary society works so well, is when people are aligned with the truth, when people are aligned with the way things actually are, it's easier to trust each other, right? And we don't expect everybody to be identical. That's what makes it different than something like communism or socialism, where there's an attempt to unify everyone. We don't expect everybody different. We actually love the fact that everybody's different. We want people to contribute. I want people who are better than me, for example, at I don't know, let's pick, maybe better at cooking, or better engineers, structural engineers, someone who's got more of a discipline than I do, or enjoys that more, architects, whatever it is. I want other people out there to be better than me at certain skills, because That's great. That's how we're all able to all contribute to this world. But we don't need. If you still believe in authority, it means that you get to tell. It's like you get to tell other people what to do, or other people get to tell you what to do. And if you don't obey, if someone doesn't obey, guess what? Assaulted, thrown into a cage, murdered, some kind of violence
Threatened,
against them. And
blackmailed, coercion,
yeah,
taxation.
yeah, it's just going to go on and on. I mean, how, the fact that how people can actually believe that that's the best that we can do as a species is to me. But again, I know because it's again, it's just what we've been saying, that people are still in their minds, they're externalizing authority. And until we can switch over to the voluntary state of being and start to take actions because it's the right thing to do, or it contributes to society, it's something we want to do, something we desire to do, it's it's not I'm not saying people can't earn money, or I'm not even saying that money would go away. Maybe we live in a society without any kind of currency or money, maybe we wouldn't. I'm not, again, that goes back to this idea that no one person gets to dictate how the reality is. But the point is, whatever kind of exchanges there are, is everybody's contributing because they're allowed to do whatever they want, and they know that the only thing that they shouldn't do is to commit violence or steal what doesn't belong to them, do something harmful. As long as they just obey that one thing and obviously defend themselves from others who might do that, then everything else is fair game. And it just opens up this incredible reality. And if we activate the imagination, and some people are doing that, there's some great projects going on. We should probably give some mention to that. If we stop complying with authority, if we start taking full responsibility for ourselves, and if we start acting voluntarily in a way that's going to contribute to society positively, then that is the transition to this next great reality that we're all gunning for. That is really what we're aiming for, is to create a reality that is not based on external authority.
Absolutely. I mean, let's talk about mind control a little bit. I know we covered a couple of uh, at the beginning, but let's talk about fear and trauma-based mind control, and how you can uh, uh, put a all masses and aggregate a into a stupor because of trauma inducing. Like when we're talking about trauma inducing mind control, we're talking about psyops and false flag attacks. These are the tools for tyranny. When you know that a people, they're too much to be controlled physically, they're gonna use other weapons, and they're the silent weapons. They are invisible because they are there are ideas. They are propaganda, and these things are some most of them, you're gonna see them, but you're not maybe recognize it. And this is how powerful suggestion and behaviorism is powerful. The power of repetition and changing the nature of the words. Like we've seen that. Like in the 3 last years, we've seen all this shit going. The all shebang of mind control, the gaslighting, the coercion, the discrimination, and all these tools that these are child bullying. This is child bullying. It's like you're going out school and you have this motherfucker who want to your cash, wants your money, your lunch money. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just because all the village, they're supporting them. They're supporting the bullies. It's like the teachers of the school are supporting the bully. This is how it works. They're illegitimate. They're immoral because they're taking out their responsibilities by saying that people consent to it because in silence, with the silence and by the voting. Essentially, they don't have to shackle you anymore. They don't need chattel slavery anymore. They don't need you to put in chain and balls anymore. They'll keep you in debt. They'll
Yeah,
keep
again, that
you.
goes back to the idea that's why I called it an advanced technology, because everything they're doing, and who people, someone will say, who is they? I mean, there's so many theories. I think that they are ultimately they are some kind of beings who aren't like us. They don't have the capacity for holistic intelligence innately. You know, in creation, everything is possible. So somewhere in the universe or in other dimensions or however they came into being, there are beings who have lost their connection to source, or maybe some of them never even had that deeper connection to source, and so they're you know, they're like this, they're like a different type of intelligence. They have a will, but they are parasitic. I think one of the best descriptions I've heard is they're like parasites. They need to feed off of our energy, and so getting us, because they know that we have free will. You know, and maybe they hate the fact that we have free will. Maybe they hate the fact, you know, there are things about us that make us much more powerful than even we understand. They need to shut that all down, and that's why they spend. That's why through our entire lives they're assaulting us in every way possible. Fluoride in the water, vaccines when you're a kid. You know, I think most people have some kind of damage from being vaccinated. I'm not even talking about the COVID vaccine. I'm talking about, you know, for me it would have been, you know, 50 years ago or 52 years ago. I'm sure that this, you know, damaged my body and probably in ways that are irreparable. You know, that the best I can do is just work around them. And many people are suffering this way. So vaccine damage, fluoride in the water, telling us to eat the wrong way, discouraging us from eating the right way, poisoning the food. And then on top of that, what you were saying, Fred, then they assault us mentally through all these different ways. So it's just a constant barrage. Too much focus on one side of the brain or the other, too much on the left brain, too much on the right brain. Religion, here's a religion. All you need to do is believe. All you need is have faith. You know, Trump is coming to save us. Q is coming to save us. The Pleiadians are coming to save us. Jesus is coming back again. All you have to do is believe. Oh, just have to believe, man. No, they're just like coming at you from every different angle, and it's no wonder it's hard work to wake up from all of that, and you know, no wonder it can be traumatic. It is traumatic to realize just how much you've been lied to, how much you've been harmed,
You
right?
you don't have to do anything anymore, don't you know? You can just fucking meditate, and the world will get better. That's fucking retarded. This is what it is. It's fucking retarded.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
what.
stand down mentality, because that's not acting out of true holistic intelligence, and that's not acting from the higher will or the trinity of consciousness, because that's not everything in alignment. Because it, you know, an alignment with truth and alignment would always recognize things as they actually are, and that includes recognizing the evil that's going on in the world, the harm that is being caused, and you know, the fact that we are often complicit in even violating natural law because we go along with it. So, you know, true holistic intelligence, you're not going to be able to escape that recognition. That's why it's so important. You know, the number one job is to clean up the muck in here and in here to a large extent in your whole being, and start to get that trinity of consciousness in alignment. Start to act. You know, think, as you feel, as you act. Make that all, and then acting according to the true will, because creation wants us to be
Yep.
all that we can be. I can say that. That's not a belief. That's not something I believe. The creation is set up because creation wants us to experience our maximum benefit, and that's why it's set up the smallest number of rules possible that allow that to be. I mean, it's incredible if you think about it. It's this morality. You know, forget about the 7 deadly sins from Christianity and all that. You know, what is it? I'm not saying those things aren't necessarily good or bad when you do them in excess, but it ultimately there's really only one thing in all of creation that we should not do in order to have the optimal benefit for everyone, and that's don't steal things that don't belong to you. Don't murder, rape, assault, steal things, coerce people, trespass, or deceive them. I mean, it's so simple, but it does require that full responsibility that you are not going to do those things. And then you, of course, you're not going to allow anybody else to do them to you or to those you love, or really, you're not going to stand for that. It's not on my watch, right?
I mean, it's way better to get together and put our pajamas on and drink some cocoa and talk about your problem. This is the way we're gonna like change the world.
Yeah.
Fucking delusional. I mean, it's like stupidity. Just the word stupidity means that you keep doing something that it doesn't work. It's like repeating the mistakes again and again without like learning anything. This is what stupidity is.
Yeah.
And I think we need people need to fucking grow up. This is what they need. You put your fucking pajamas aside, you know, put your big girl pants, and do something about it, and not stop crying about fucking trivialities. This is
Yeah.
what we need to do. We are fucking we never been so divided in this world. We have so much stratas of division now. You're vax, you're unvax, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, you're red, I'm blue, you like the toast, I like croissant. It's fucking ridiculous. And we have
Yeah.
to get
Culture is evil. Culture is
yeah,
evil because culture is a tool of authority. It's all
yeah.
that culture is basically a tool. So we need to throw that away. And, I'm just going to assume for a second, I know this is not entirely true, but what happens when the person does does do that shadow work? What happens when the person now has that aha moment and says, I get it. I'm responsible for myself. I'm the master of my mind. I need to cultivate it like one would cultivate a garden or anything of value. I need to protect it and defend it, defend my mind just like I would defend my body, my whole being, and my soul, because frankly, the dark beings are after all of it. So I need to be the master of my ship. And I live in a reality that's shared with others. This is amazing. Now, how can I live in this reality with other people? Great. Well, I'm going to start contributing in all these ways, and come up with great ideas and espouse the ideas that I think are going to serve humanity the most. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out. This is not an endorsement because he's asked me to do this. I just wanted to give an example of someone who I think who is a great worker, who is a part of the One Great Work Network as well. His name is Derek Brose, and his main project is called The Conscious Resistance. He has been a journalist, alternative journalist for many years. One of the projects that he and his collaborators created is called Freedom Cell Network. And so you can go from his content on the One Great Work Network. I don't remember the exact website. It's probably freedomcells.org or something like that. Go look it up. And the idea is that all around the world, people can self-organize into small communities wherever they are. I'm not talking about even a breakaway civilization, just wherever you are. So if you're in Montreal, you do it in Montreal. If you're on an island, you do it on an island. People get together intentionally, locally, and start to collaborate to create alternative systems in alternative ways of organizing themselves as a community, which could include, oversight. It's not a replacement for government, but obviously you might have a council, you might have a community, you might have someone to help arbitrate when there's disputes. You might have a pooling of certain resources so that people can benefit from those resources together, whatever they might be. Educational resources, growing food kind of resources, which is obviously very important. Anything that's fundamental to living in this 3D reality. So I wanted to mention that because people are actually doing things. This is not just theoretical, right? And I admire someone like Derek for spearheading an idea like this and taking action on it and creating an actual platform where people can go and start to think about it. And this is part of the other part of the reason why I wanted to talk about this is if we're ever going to move past, to move to the next phase evolutionarily, at some point we need to start, putting our action in the ground and putting stake in the ground and actually doing things to create society. I don't know if, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if the existing system is just going to collapse. It probably will. It's a good guess. At some point, it's just going to come crashing down like a house of cards. We need to have something else, and we need to be starting to think about the other version of how we want to live, and or versions, and start to do that. So that's a big part of why I wanted to have this conversation, because people can start right now, whether it's through projects like Freedom Cells or creating your own project or doing something in your own community. People can already start to do things to reorganize our society around voluntarism. Once they've gone far enough down the path of actually, admitting to themselves that they were wrong about authority, that there is no place for external authority, zero, and start to take full responsibility. Then we can start to act voluntarily, and then I think it will be enjoyable. It will actually be enjoyable in addition to being the right thing to do.
I mean, I was saying earlier about the alternative, but you can the key here, it's each individual are creating abundance. It can be an abundance of anything you think about. You have someone who like can repair shoes and boots and things like that. You have like someone who likes to cook, or someone who do some haircuts or something like that. And it starts with an exchange. It's an exchange of service. You create a group, and essentially, this is what Ubuntu was starting to create. It's like you have particular talents, and then you include them, and then let's say you repair shoes. Okay, this is your job, this is what you're doing. And then you need your front door to be changed. And it happens that there's a carpenter in your group, and then you can like do an exchange of service, and everyone can do that. And it's the same thing with food. Let's say you're in a village or a small town, and every individual is creating a garden. Then when this happens to be abundant, and then it's contagious, you create abundance in your own place, in your local place, and then when people are in abundance, they're going to create other for, and you send it elsewhere, and you try to, we can do it with knowledge, we can do it with food, we can do it with wares and stuff that we need, ropes and clothes and things like that. So
And energy. Here's another
here we
example. Those
go.
are all great examples, but
Yes.
Nikola Tesla already showed us a significant progress down the path. Had he not been shut down by authority and by the psychopathic predator class, these parasites who obviously shut him down, he probably, no way to know for sure, but he had shown real promise of solving the world's energy problems in a way that there would basically be free energy for everybody on Earth, which is the natural way of things. So people were already showing us all of this is possible. It's simply that because we keep allowing authority to grow and grow. Of course, it doesn't serve authority that we would have free, unlimited energy. That we would have access to the abundant, infinite energy that already exists in this creation. Of course, no, they can't have that. So of course they're going to shut down someone like Tesla. And I'm talking about the true Nikola Tesla. I'm not talking about this complete ass clown, Elon Musk, the biggest tool of all of this predator class, like a complete tool, a complete scumbag, in my opinion, completely towing the line, who's completely destroyed Tesla's name by associating it with their agenda, with these electric cars nonsense. And I'm not saying there isn't a place for an electric car, but I'm talking about their implementation of it. I'm talking about the true Nikola Tesla. So if we go back in history, people have been showing the way, and I mean, there are whistleblowers that will claim, I don't have firsthand experience, but there are whistleblowers that claim that we can engineer anti-gravity technology without even having any kind of alien technology. We can do it with all the resources and all the know-how that's available on planet Earth. And it's actually much easier to do than people would even realize. It's just, again, anything that's advanced technology, anything that could improve civilization and take us beyond the who will build the roads paradigm, where we may not even need roads anymore because we've evolved to a much higher state of symbiosis with the technology and with the natural world, with the way the world is and the way we create it. So people have already showed us that incredible things are possible, and people have already started working down that path. It's just that we've allowed those things to fall to the side because we keep allowing authority we keep allowing these parasites to suck away our life force and so once we get past that, there's already great things are already waiting in the wings. It's not even a matter of, I don't think it's even a matter of decades before we see like incredible advances. If all of humanity tomorrow would stop complying with authority, and start to align with these principles of reality, things could literally start opening up faster than people can even imagine, right? And so, but these things are never going to manifest these, free and abundant access to all energy. These things are not going to manifest so long as we keep acting immorally and we keep externalizing authority.
Hey, we shouldn't care about that. We should put all our time to ascend in the 5D. This is what we should do. We're gonna ascend into fucking alien bodies. God damn it! Every time I'm hearing that, I'm fucking bursting and laughing.
Jesus, just believe in Jesus. He's gonna take care of it for us. Jesus got my back. He got my back, man.
We're gonna wait for the Pleiadian to liberate.
I'm telling you, I got a call. The Pleiadians have been telling me my dreams, man. They are coming. They are just a few light years away. All we have to do is hang tight. Just hang tight. They're gonna be here.
Yeah, this is how crazy it became.
It's insane. It's a psychotic mindset. It's a psychotic. That's why I think I haven't been reading the comments, but I know you said someone talked about cognitive dissonance. That is one step away from psychosis. A complete break from reality, because cognitive dissonance is your mind trying to warn you, warning, system overload. You're believing in things that aren't true. You're about to go down a very dark path. Are you sure you want to do that? And then the person keeps going, and then eventually they reach a point where they're just psychosis, or they have to become psychopathic and completely shut down, their
emotional side.
Yeah, because that's the only way they can keep getting away with such violence to themselves and others. But hey, Jesus has got it, man. We should just end the podcast now. Between Jesus, Q, the Pleiadians, I mean, what do we have to worry about?
I mean, we're laughing, but it's not funny, man. Fucking people are fucking living into a fucking clown world, where men can have babies now. This is the new trendy thing. This is fucking this is loony land. This is where we're getting at. Now, women can have dick. This is the first thing that people need, to confirmation. This is the validation of the new world. Confusion, of simple truth. Confusion, obfuscation, deep obfuscation of simple truth, like freedom.
And it's all what we think it is. It's all perception, and perception is reality. It's all in my head. It's all emanating from my head. It's all for my benefit. Pedophiles are murdering and torturing children in ways that most people can't even grasp. But hey, it's all in my head. It's all It's all for my benefit. It's all, we're going to send the 5D. Why worry about that?
Yeah, this fucking new age garbage. It's so out of hand now. I'm sometimes I'm flabbergasted. Sometimes I'm just letting people talk because they're fucking delusional as hell, and it's scary, brother. It's scary. It's so it's so uh, uh, it's so there. It's so omnipresent. It's everywhere. In every aspect. People are so lazy, intellectually lazy,
Yep.
and
And
this is what
intellectual
we have.
laziness is just another way of saying that they refuse to take control of their own mind, because the
Ignorance is
opposite of
fucking
intellectual
bad.
laziness, or they're not willing to take responsibility for their own mind and their consciousness in general, which includes their mind, the three aspects: their mind, their heart, and their guts. In other words, how they think, how they feel, how they act. So yeah, I mean, it's just a cop out. It's just like, I can't be bothered. It's almost like saying I just want to be a jellyfish.
I mean, there's so much. There's so much stuff. There's so much people who have the potential of becoming teachers. All these smart people around, but they're stuck into their material prison. And this is the thing that I think it's the most uh, uh um present. It's people refuse to go into the invisible, into the occult, because they're scared of being wrong. When you're confronting them with the knowledge of the occult, people get uneasy very fast, and I'm sure you know what I mean. let
Oh
let's
yeah.
say let's say we this is the what we have to go against if we want this world to get better, if we want this beautiful thing that we talked earlier. People will have to mature up.
Yeah,
We
and some
need
people will need
right
to
now.
suffer.
i
People will
mean
need
i
to
mean the
suffer in order
suffering
to.
the suffering that is coming, the people don't fucking get it. It's coming, and it's not gonna be beautiful. It's not gonna be a beautiful thing. There's actually a French guy who told me that they were proud that they were Satanists. Are you fucking kidding me? They're destroying your fucking brain, you loser. You don't know. The people don't know shit. And this is why we're going into this vortex of garbage that is the culture that we're living in. Yes, sure, you're in South America. If I tell me if I'm wrong,
In
but
Central America.
Central America. Okay, so I'm sure it's pretty much the same thing. It's the same thing everywhere. You have this oppressive government system that it's everywhere.
People actually applaud on social media
Wow.
here. People applaud it when the police or the local military, which the police here is basically militarized. It's basically a police state, more so than even in other countries in Latin America. And people actually applaud when people are arrested, for example, for growing quote unquote illegal drugs. I'm not necessarily saying that it's a good idea to go and use a bunch of drugs, or even sell a bunch of drugs, but the point is we have free will. People have the right to do those things, right? As long as they're not harming someone. So the police coming along and saying, well, you can't sell this because we outlawed, we declared this all outlawed, and then people are like, oh yeah, oh yeah. To some extent, there are a lot of people in the world, and I don't know to what percentage it is, that their consciousness is so degraded, and their connection to their soul and their true essence has been so eroded that in some cases, and this may be hard for people to accept, there is no way to get out of this situation except going through it. That's true for all of us. We're all going to have to
Sure.
go through this mess. But some people are going to take it harder, and a lot of people aren't going to make it. And a lot of people have already, through the needlecraft, people have already allowed themselves to be jabbed, for example. They're very far gone. So I think there's a certain percentage of humanity that they're just, they're so far gone that barring some kind of internal miracle, they're not going to make it. But the point is, we want to reach the greatest number of people possible. But those of us who at least are to the point where we're getting things, we're starting to understand it. The point is that we can start to be an example for those around us, and we can start to live per this. What I'm talking about, this voluntary. People can stop paying their fucking taxes. This is such an easy thing. Stop paying your fucking extortion fees. That authority is. I mean, stop it. You're not a good person when you pay taxes. That does not make you a good person. You are basically supporting the continuity of evil. Just let that sink in for everybody who's trying to minimize the amount of taxes that they're paying, or someone who's working or hiring a tax accountant. You're basically supporting evil. If people, here's something you can do voluntarily. Voluntarily decide that you're no longer to allow people to extort you against your free will, because you don't want to be extorted. Because you know that when you allow people to extort you, it means that you consider yourself a piece of shit. And by extension, you're normalizing treating other people like they're little slaves, and they get to get extorted too, because it becomes the social norm through virtue signaling. So stop fucking paying your taxes starting today. Make 2023 the year that you say, you know what? We're not funding authority anymore. Bye-bye money. Doesn't matter how much money you print. We're not paying you. Imagine what would happen in the world if everybody stood up and said, we're not paying our taxes anymore. Voluntarily. Right?
It would be fucking great.
Yeah. So there's such simple things that we can start to do. And then taxes, we can agree that income tax at least is usually somewhere in the range of 25 to 40% of one's income. What do you imagine that we could do with having 25 to 40% of our work product no longer being extorted from us, and paying that bully? Because it's exactly the bully again, like you said earlier. It's the bully. It's just a bully coming for your lunch money, and you're like, oh, okay, because I'm too lazy to stand up for myself. I don't love myself enough. So yeah, you can have my money. And it's just the same thing year after year after year after year. Let me bend over here so you can reach in a little bit further. So let's stop paying our taxes. Let's stop funding these pedophile rings. Let's stop funding these evil motherfuckers. And let's
stop
start
voting. Stop fucking voting.
Also,
stop
another ridiculous behavior. Although I think we should stop voting, and we should stop paying extortion fees that are euphemistically called taxes. These are easy things that every single person who's watching this podcast can do. Oh, but I'm afraid because they still have the guns. When the fuck are you going to grow a pair? Yep. See, I don't value my own. I'm not clinging to my life because I value my life more than I value the truth. And I'm not in one of these, atheistic, dead, brain deads who thinks that this is all there is and that there isn't more at stake here than just this 3D reality that we're living in. Grow a pair, stop funding authority, and start using what you have, in whatever you want. That's the great thing. When you stop paying extortion fees, now you can take that money and, I don't know, do what Larkin Rose did and make a movie. Or do what Derrick Rose did and create a new album, and put out his first album. I think it was his first album. I don't remember, but he's got a new album coming out. You can do incredible things, right? Or you can invest in the Tesla Science Foundation, which is trying to bring Tesla's work into more reality. I mean, there's so many things that we can do.
You buy garden towers and start permaculture and try to produce for yourself and make your own food and cook your own food and learn how to to and do your own soap for your clothes and for yourself, and your own toothpaste. It's everywhere. We have plenty solutions to stop encouraging these garbage corporation who are poisoning us with a little bit of poison every time you put it in your mouth, on your skin, you know because most people don't know how the skin is the biggest organ of the body. So
Yep.
essentially the skin will absorb everything you put on. So if you clean your body with industrial like cleaners and dyes and things like that, you're absorbing this garbage in your bloodstream, and it's going straight to your brain.
Yeah, and you know that you're doing that because you can read the ingredients on it. And if you don't, and just because you don't understand what the ingredients are, does not is not an excuse. And
Sure.
one of the things that um, I'll just mention, I'm glad you mentioned that about the skin being the biggest organ, and people. I mean, this is something that people. This is such an easy one again that people can do to start taking back their own mind and their body. Um, for example, I stopped using fluoride toothpaste years ago. It's been at
Me
least
too.
12 years since I stopped using fluoride
Hmm.
toothpaste. Um, and what else? I stopped using all these, like almost all these synthetic, like soaps and this and that, and all this other crap, deodorants, this art synthetic deodorants. These things do have an effect. You're exactly right, Fred. I mean, the skin, what we put on our skin, just because we don't, pour it down our neck, doesn't mean that it's not having an effect on us.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about radiations.
Yep.
Radiations are everywhere now, and it's not good for your brain. And I think we must consider everything. And and I must like bring it back to natural law, at least for this one, um, because we have the principle of vibration, and these radiation we're living in, they're creating mutations in our DNA, in our bodies, and we're not feeling it at like on the moment, but essentially it's like slowly killing you. So we have like the 5G and the Wi-Fi. Even Wi-Fi we don't know yet what consequence it has to on children there when they're growing up, surrounding all these apparels that use Wi-Fi. You know, like my computer, I connected it's Wi-Fi, but I'm connecting with the cable
Yep.
because I don't want it for streaming. It's garbage. Wi-Fi is garbage for streaming. So I'm using the 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 cable, and there I'm not using any Wi-Fi on my computer. So that's one. You can unplug it before you go to sleep. Unplug your modem, not your modem, but your Wi-Fi transmitter. You can unplug it, and it's like flatten the radiation for the night, for your brain to like, and your body to sleep better. You know, every
Yeah. Turn off
epidemic
your cell
start.
phone when you
There,
sleep. Turn
there's
off your
someone is
cell phone.
commenting. Who's that? Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you doing, sister? Welcome. Every epidemic start with a new electromagnetic field. Skin problems, memory lost, hear lost, you know,
Yeah. Someone
dementia.
said, stop shopping at these corporations. That actually is one of the points that I wanted to mention. Um, and this also ties back into natural law because it ties back into doing the right thing.
Yeah.
See, corporations, most corporations, or maybe even all of them, in a way, they are psychopathic and they are parasitic. Think of a CEO. I can't remember. I heard this in someone else's podcast. I thought it was brilliant. I wish I could remember who said this. Maybe it was the one from Cat Waters. One of her guests said it. Um, Think about corporations where the CEO earns sometimes thousands of times more than the other employees. For doing what? For doing what? For being the ruler over that corporation and deciding how, being the authority.
Scratching
People,
paper.
yeah. So part of this is, again, this shows just how much we've been indoctrinated, because corporations are a great indoctrination model because everybody gets paid. So you get to put your conscience on ice. And for example, if you're a police officer or a tax accountant, you're blatantly causing harm. So you're basically being paid to violate natural law, but you're doing it anyway because you're getting paid. But then there's a lot of gray areas where you might work for a corporation that's not necessarily doing those things, but they're still hooked into all of it. The corporation still pays taxes. They expect all their employees to pay taxes. The products that they sell may not be very beneficial, even if they're not directly harmful, although many times they will be. They'll often be based on plastics and things that are not healthy, unhealthy foods. So a big part of moving towards voluntary society is voluntarily giving up the notion that somehow you have to earn a living to survive, doing things that are in violation of natural law, and somehow you can expect to live in a free world, when you're doing that, and not recognizing that is cognitive dissonance, that is basically, contrary to the principles of creation. But it takes some courage because people are, so locked into the creature comforts. They've literally paid for their house, their car, their 2 cars, even cars for the kids, the swimming pool. They've paid for all this shit by being an immoral piece of trash. And now they have to actually look at themselves in the mirror and say, oh my God, I've been paid 6 figures to be an immoral scumbag. And that's completely incompatible with being free. I can no longer lie to myself because now I can see that's true. So I can either, keep lying to myself to my face, or I can grow courage and say, okay, I want to live. I want to make a better world for myself and for my kids, but I can't keep doing what I'm doing. So what's the alternative? And then start to transition to something else. And, some people it's going to be a rougher transition, and some people, maybe they'll be able to make it in a couple of steps. But as long as people keep feeding the parasitic system that fuels authority through all these different tentacles, we're not truly acting we're not going to be able to create that voluntary society.
And let's start with this one. Get your kids out of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Do it fucking right now.
Another one that can be done immediately,
Yeah,
immediately.
easy solution. I mean, teach your children. Compromise on your career. If you have your children, it's because you wanted to take responsibility for it. So do it. Do it right now. Get your children out. Teach them, even if it's hard and you want to cry, it makes you sad. Do it. It's this is. Do you care? The question is, do you care enough to put your freedom, put your sovereignty first, and the well-being of your family if you have one. It's how much essentially it's how much you care. Like I like Mark's work on that. He's always like right on it, put the hammer on the nail every time. It's how much you care.
Yep.
And it's simple. It's simple. You stop lying to yourself, and it's easy. No, it's not easy to stop lying to yourself, but start. That's easy. It's will. It's care.
Yeah. But it's also how much you care about the truth versus caring about
Hmm.
the little things in your life,
Yeah,
the comforts,
essentially,
right?
yes. Yes.
Because people can place their care in different ways. I mean, that's why, the predator class and the parasitic class, that's why they try to capture our attention so much, because they know that we're going to care. Ultimately, we have the capacity to care about something. We have that ability to care and to focus on something. So they'd rather get us to focus on things that, stroke our ego and make us feel good in the moment, little bit of cash for your bank account, for your wallet, for your pocket. Never mind the fact that you're selling your soul, and you're going to basically deliver your children into hell, literally into a physically manifested hell. No, it doesn't matter. You're going to feel good for 5 minutes,
Corey
right?
is here. He's commenting. I mean, he's the specialist of abolitionism.
Yeah.
Go see his page on Facebook. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, his stuff is awesome. So I suggest
Yeah.
everyone to go see there. He's telling it. He's explaining what anarchy or abolitionism is in the perfect way.
Yep.
So
That's awesome. Yeah, we need to be
thank you for
inspired by
being there.
different perspectives. We need to have those different perspectives. I think it was Bill Cooper who said when he started the Hour of the Time back in '93, he said the mark of an intelligent being is you want to listen to everyone and believe no one. Believe nothing until you can prove to yourself and discover for yourself what is actually true. But you're gonna hear it all. You're gonna listen. So yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is let's listen to each other and let's get some great different ideas. That's part of why I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of people who are doing work, and there are many others, because they've because they're going to do things maybe differently than they're going to think of things differently, but they have great ideas, and we can learn from each other. And sometimes people will be very far along in developing an idea, and rather than us starting from scratch, we can actually go and say, oh, let's understand how he solved this problem, and we can use that powerful ability to learn from others, and we can move ourselves further. So I hadn't even heard of this guy, Charlie Lane. I don't know if I should be embarrassed about that or not, but I'd definitely be interested to check out his work.
What's his name? Charles Lane.
Charlie Lane.
Thank
Yep.
you, Corey, for that. Well, I'm gonna look after.
Yeah, and Corey, shout out to Corey, my man.
Yeah.
He is a powerhouse of ideas. I'm just gonna, again, Corey didn't put me up to this. I'm just gonna plug a few things. If you didn't participate in the End of Slavery Summit, which was like 2 weeks of hardcore, across the board, every kind of a perspective on abolitionism, slavery, and how to end it.
Yep.
All the different angles, how they've been able to get away with it, how we can start to shift away, how to move away from statism, and of course how to start creating this voluntary based organization. And I think Corey's really good at that. He's got a new project which is public now, so I know I can mention it. It's called
The Liberator 2.
Liberator.us, which is
Yeah.
a completely free, voluntary newspaper, online newspaper. And the idea is that it's not controlled media, it's not propaganda, it's whatever you want to share. And I've already sent him an article, and I plan to sending a bunch of them. So go check out the Liberator.us. That's a great way. That's a great platform.
I don't know.
Speaking of which,
I don't know if he will agree with French stuff. I'll need to talk with him about this. I started on the One Great Work Network. I put some French
Yep.
stuff there. But I'll look into it for sure. I have plenty of ideas in the French side, because there's so much covered from, there's some great workers who are doing a fabulous job, and the one of the place we're on the One Great Work Network.com. Corey, David, are you on it? I
Yep.
can. Okay, so we're both like on the One Great Work
It's
Network.com.
onegreatworknetwork.com. Onegreatworknetwork.com. And then when you land on the page, there's always a video showing via Twitch, which is, it could either be a live presentation or a replay. And then there's like some featured videos. And then there's a section where you can see all the different content creators. So you can see myself, Fred, Corey, others. And then you could see, and then there's an all section where literally all the media, as everybody's posting it, gets, in the time it's being posted, it just gets a flow. That's the all page. So I love to
Mhm.
go and explore on that page just to see what people are posting. And again, this
There's
is
so much stuff there.
yeah,
God damn.
great
Like,
ideas.
yeah. I mean, there's hours and hours and hours of like incredible like information and empowering information. You know, just the work of Mark Passios and the QB Hole podcast, and there's much more. You know, there and it's very eclectic. You know, there's it's not all only about the occult. It's about some covers the news. Some there's different things that you can like get there. The address is on the screen now, onegreatwordnetwork.com, for the people very curious about the occult and freedom and spirituality. It's a good place to start with. Well, you need to at least be bilingual. I mean, there's some French stuff there, but very few for now. So working on it. Um, I mean, there's so much to say about this. I mean, we don't have the time now to do it, and I would like to like thanks thanks everyone who've been there. Hélène was there. Elizabeth. There was there was people from your side because you link some stuff. So everyone, you're welcome on the Libercast on YouTube, Odyssey, and then Facebook. You come. My name is not there, sadly, but I'm Fred Gingras on Facebook. You can get me there on the Libercast page, and then the stuff is there. Um, Please, David, just tell us again where we can get your work.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. Thank you for everything that you're doing specifically again. So, if people want to check out my work specifically, they can go to my website, which I maintain, which is called freedomvibe.art. Freedomvibe.art. So, it's the .art domain. I chose that because one of the hats that I wear and that I'll actually be wearing with increasing enthusiasm over the next couple of months is an artist. I consider myself an artist because art is just such an important part of life. Again, we could talk about that as a whole podcast, but
Hmm.
freedomvibe.art. And of course, I'm also on the One Great Word Network. You can find links to my other social media either on my website or there.
On its
Yeah, freedomvibe.art. You can see it on my name
exactly.
here. Super easy. I chose a domain that was fairly simple to remember. Um, I post my own content there, but I also post other people's content. I posted some of Fred's work there, Corey's, other people, Mark Passio, um, all Catherine Waters, other people that we've mentioned or not mentioned. Um, so I try to curate the best of what I think is going to be the most helpful for people, the videos or the content that has been helpful. And I'm actually going to be starting to share some books as well. But yeah, check out my work there. I appreciate it. See what you think, and stay tuned in January because I'm going to be unveiling at least one as yet undisclosed new project that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys.
You're gonna have to come back to tell us about this.
Yep. Oh yeah, and it will almost certainly be sometime in January. So yeah, just stay tuned.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone. Everyone's was in the comment. Corey, we're gonna have to talk very soon. I'm working on the translation. I've been in the break taking care of my family, but I'm working on it. Um, I'm actually translating Corey's book in French, so it's a work on the go. So thank you again, and thank you again, David Greenberg, for being there tonight. I it's always awesome to have you on, the insights and your wisdom, you know, and it's always like my empowering. So have a good night, and I think the next one will be French. So I'm gonna still do some English stuff, but I decided to focus on the French side a little bit more. So stay tuned on that, and see you soon, people. Have a good night.